Have you ever seen an aerial view of the Earth, taken with an ultraviolet camera? Nothing looks quite real. Are those mountains? Is that a valley? Is that a river? We see things every day. We take most of them for granted. It's the person who pauses and really looks that begins to understand whether the clouds mean it's going to rain or whether they're just fair weather clouds. To be creative, to think creatively, one must relearn the art of seeing to perceive mentally. It is an art that most of us lost sometime during puberty and seldom get back. If we are to teach our children effectively, we have to teach them to never lose the ability to think creatively.
Make no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dreams.
Hi, I'm Steve Brown. I'm a master's student at Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio. And I'm in the College of Education, Department of Business Education. What I hope to do in the next few minutes is to discuss the idea of creativity in the classroom. I will be discussing three aspects of what has been called the highest taxonomic level. Beyond knowledge, beyond applying that knowledge, comes the ability to put it all together, to create. First, we'll define creativity. Next, I will talk about how you, the teacher, can awaken or reawaken those creative bones that we all had as children, should you need a refresher as I did. Last, guided by the research of Dr. Rita Broadnax, I will discuss how you can bring creativity breaks into your classroom, borrowing on her idea of brain drainers. First, we need to define creativity. Is it learnable? Are we born with it? Or not? Is creativity like art? We can't define it, but we know it when we see it. Actually, it's much easier than that, and we can define it. But it also takes some dedication because you have to be able to just let go. You have to let go of distractions, your cell phone, your eye, anything. Don't be afraid to hear yourself think. Seriously, turn the phone off. There are no real secrets, and the literature is pretty clear. The author, Freeman Patterson, has devoted his life to writing about photography, and learning to see is a big part of it. Seeing is the ability to see what everybody else does and yet make it special. Cardinal flower grows wild in northwest Ohio. So much so that a few years ago, there were 6 entries in a large photo contest. All had beautiful color. All were in focus and all had a pleasant balance to the composition. 5 were awarded not even an honorable mention, while the 6th one received first place in the division. Why? In the 6th, the photographer had the song Lady in Red running through his head and saw the flower on a black background. I should know. The photographer was me. I used my prior knowledge, my skill, and I manipulated things to get what I envisioned. Was I creative? The judges thought so. My first attempt at art photography was an unmitigated disaster. I entered 7 photos and had 7 photos rejected. I was sure at the time that plenty of Photoshop would rule the day. I was wrong. I wasn't seeing. So what does all this photography stuff have to do with a classroom? I think plenty. Regardless of discipline, seeing, really seeing, is the first step to creativity. Most students would see a lump of clay as, well, a lump of clay. If they can learn to see it as a lion, a bird, or as a spaceship, they are on their way. And most children do. Okay, so what is creative about math? Einstein thought a lot. So did Newton and his apple. It doesn't matter whether the apple story really happened. Both were inspired. They took familiar concepts and looked at them in a new way. If researchers Plucker, Bagetto, and Dow are right, and the true definition of creativity is both uniqueness and utility, Einstein and Newton reached what Bagetto and Kaufman called creativity level 4. And that's definitely creativity with a capital C. Okay, enough about making the case. Many, if not most, students have problems visualizing, seeing in the mental way. What can we do to help? What if we created a brain phys ed class? A little mental gymnastics designed to function as a slightly different version of what Dr. Broadnax calls a brain drainer. Dr. Broadnax is a former school superintendent, educator, and lecturer who has invented the brain drainer. Brain drainers draw on the body's physiological need to move and restore equilibrium to the right and left sides of the brain. Essentially, students, well, really anybody, needs to get the spine in motion about once every 20 minutes. Dr. Broadnax has accomplished this by developing short, mental, out-of-seat, at-your-desk activities that allow the brain to refocus. If this sounds too good to be true, as a former seat squirmer, I can attest. I recently sat through a 2-hour lecture of the good doctor, and no one nodded off. Far from it, we were all energized by the end and frankly sorry it was over. My idea, in conjunction with Dr. Broadnax, is to incorporate creativity into these short 3 to 5 minute breaks, hence a creativity break. The main point of this short video is to introduce this concept, the creativity break, a short activity designed to stimulate and develop a student's higher order analytical and thinking skills. Okay, how do we accomplish this? How do we work creativity into 5 minutes? First, let's talk about how brain drainers work, and then we can discuss how to use them as a creativity break. Brain drainers fall into a number of categories that Dr. Broadnax discusses on her website. They can be done individually or with a partner. Perhaps my favorite ones are those where a question is posed and the teams have 3 minutes to discuss some aspect of it. Is the statement true? Either way, why? Or, do people get taller in outer space? You have the teams come up with their best guess and explain their reasoning. Give them 2 or 3 minutes. Another way is you can have one team member interview another and have them explain which of the 7 dwarves they feel like today and why. In these 3 examples, you have seen 3 different ways your students can take a break, have fun, and exercise their analytical muscles, not to mention get their spine moving. This is an important point because you're pushing up Bloom's scale and even knocking at the door of creativity through critical thinking. Now let's push this definitely into the realm of creativity. Try this one. How many straight lines does it take to connect the dots? 5 is the usual answer, but it can be done in 4. And if you're really creative, it can be done in 3. Yes, 3, and no, I'm not giving away the answer. Or this, my wife is hooked on an MSN.com game called Text Twist. This activity can be done as a class, with teams, or individually. You're given a series of letters and are to make as many words of 3 or more letters as you can in a given time frame. This is perfect for a creativity break. If you play the online or downloadable version, you're given a 2-minute time limit. Perfect. Last, let's talk about some real creativity. You can introduce this game by talking about the evolution of the telephone, or the car, or even air travel. You then choose an item such as a pencil or a stapler or some other common item, and the children then have 4 minutes to decide what will replace it. In other words, what's next? Their answer must be something not yet available that they know of, and they can draw it, name it, or describe it, or whatever they need to get the point across. Or you can ask them something such as, what will replace the cell phone? And then have the class brainstorm ideas as a group. Remember, they're standing all the time they do this. Now you're touching on synthesis, and in a very creative way. Now that you're seeing, maybe you too can make up a story the next time you remodel a bathroom. In these few short minutes, I've made the case for the creative break. This concept is new and will be more fully developed in the months and years to come. Feel free to contact me with your ideas and suggestions. I hope I have convinced you how this is not only possible but very doable without breaking the bank time-wise. If you wish to learn more, including the science behind all this, please go to my website and download the free PDF. It includes more ideas as well as how to contact Dr. Broadnax. Thank you for your time, and let's all resolve to get a little more creative.
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to